It is recognition of him, and through these four forms of
which is the beginning form is the teaching.
The teaching and his person, in his body, human bodily, avataric person.
Right, is in the human dimension.
Mm-hmm.
And the base of that, and the most basic part where he's informing this understanding is in the realm of food.
Internet.
Sex and all of this other stuff.
Yes, and so we bring our body-mind complex to him in every way we can.
And that is through that submission, and this is where sadhana comes into it, because you must enter into relationship to him. And I want to put a capital H on that, because it's not just him as a Jesus,
right,
as a Buddha, as a...
Because he says, if you think it's the meat body,
it's this. You are now only rooted in your own
complex delusion.
So if you start here, you will end here. Wherever you put your attention on, and that will then be reflected out,
right,
and then you only get what's reflected back.
And you know this as you put your attention on him, because that second form of him is intuitive, subtle, and obvious. It is his presence. When you consider these teachings, when you consider his form, when you consider his transmission, there's a subtlety, there's a presence, as he would say.
There is the energetic presence.
There's the energetic presence.
You then enter into that energetic presence.
And you are burned up.
And then the fire, because see, if you will, to use the metaphor, is a light that you're now being drawn to. Mm-hmm. And that light,
is
first,
fire.
as it's basically elemental, as it's in its elemental form, is heat and tapas. Well, then that's purification. Mm-hmm. And then you get to the fire. And that's where the true submissions start, because what's now have to be relinquished is this contraction, this attention, this mind, whether the body now goes and it's just mind, and you're going to the light, but as you go to the light, this is the only thing that's being revealed. And so all you're seeing is this. And then all the mind forms that are associated with it, oh, that's the devil, and that's this, and I'm this, and what about this, and my mother, and my family, and a mind.
And, or I'm very cool.
I'm good, I'm enlightened, let me be the spiritual master.
That burns up, and that is what we experience in the presence fire. And as you notice in that Dawn Horse Testament, just where that third hoof points to the heart on the right, is just above the fire. So the fire yields to light, and that light is the self of all in all. And that is merely the third form, his third form, and which is true human maturity, true spiritual maturity. And spiritual maturity then is the threshold where we go into the onlyness of him. Yeah. And so, which then points to the... So I want to emphasize again and again and again that it's wonderful to understand the subtleties and the complexities and the different distinctions of this, but in practice, it is distraction. It is falling out of ourselves into him, as long as the conventions of experience persist. Knowing that and what's the discrimination is required so that we don't do that in a childish or cultic or adolescent manners. We don't try to yank ourselves up to God, take heaven by storm adolescently. We don't try to, kiss ass to the guru. We don't try to be good. None of those things. We truly, the critiques of those methodologies will accelerate our real love and distraction by another formless dimension, who he is.
Well, what you begin and start with is that there is only one. That's the beginning. And once you see that, that's your nature, but it isn't fully, it's not full, it's not complete. It's still in, as he says, there's a paradox here, that there's no search. right? So all you get to see as you first awaken to that intuition is that there's still a process that seems to, appearances still arise. The phenomena, you haven't been purified. You haven't fully adapted to the conditions in that understanding that you had. So I would like to maybe just basically get into, once that is understood, once this kind of foundational stuff is taken care of, and
What do you mean?
well,
You mean first become human?
if we're talking about seventh stage, we're talking about there's three phases, right? There is the transfiguration stage. There is the transformation stage. There's the translation stage. And in fact, there's another, what he would call in that translation, there's the indifference, where his, as if you followed the understanding of Adi Da through the revelations, right, from the man of understanding to the divine event in 2000 of his indifferent stage full, there's this kind of
So there is a process within the seventh stage.
there is a process within the seventh
For
stage.
us jivas, us individuals, what's most important is coming to the threshold. And so, but let's do this. Let's do the phases of the seventh stage on another occasion.
Okay.
Let's focus on that
All right.
on another occasion.
All right.
But for our, I want, for introductory purposes here, I want to emphasize two things. One, the seventh stage is unsupported. That it's not like the other stages, which are supported by other kinds of techniques, phenomena, guru help, discrimination. It's unsupported. It's inherent. It's not supported by catching the seventh ball, or the seventh game ball, or anything else. That the seventh, what distinguishes the seventh stage over the sixth is it's one of its distinctions. It is unsupported, even by attention. And the other one thing I want to point out is that it is a process that each I does not do. That it is recognition of him. Recognizing him is the seventh stage way. We recognize him, and that is a paradoxical process, yes, but who cares? We just fall out of ourselves in love with him. Put our attention on him, give our attention to him, because we intuit something more than our usual frameworks we got. He's not a man.
True desire is awakened, and true desire is never satisfied. It is only in that true desire, like the gopis, or that you now have been awakened. And there is only that awakening.
Right, and we had, our way is not a path, but it is the maturation of this gift. And so it's a way of grace. We live in grace. The way is the way of grace. And it is the way of grace through him recognition. So that's, and as we could turn around and tell our minds, so to speak, yeah, because he is the seventh stage. We become what we meditate on. We understand all this kind of on the back burner, and we bring it to the front to examine it, to make sure that we're not being cultic, we're not being childish, that we're not being adolescent. But really, at its core, at its heart, at its root, as its impulse, it is recognition response to him. And recognition response to him is the seventh stage way. They're wonderful to appreciate because it's a way of appreciating him. And so at its core, we, as he says, we grab the tail of the Ashvamedha horse and he pulls us in, as it were, paradoxical language. All glory, praise, and grace are from the Satguru, Adi Da, seventh stage realizer.